The uncle was clearly driving a luxury car, yet he wore worn-out cloth shoes, disguised as a migrant worker as he returned to his hometown. 5 kilometers from home, he abandoned the luxury car and chose to walk back. As the richest man, he pretended to be poor to avoid making his family feel uncomfortable or embarrassed. But just as he reached the door of his house, he saw many relatives and friends who had come to celebrate his mother's birthday. Seeing his shabby clothes, the relatives mocked him. His mother looked at him with disdain, saying he hadn't come home for years and was still a failure at his age. The rich man took out his gift, but the relative in charge of collecting gifts tossed it aside. Only his eldest uncle felt sympathy for him. He came over to comfort him, saying his mother had been spoiled, and told him not to take it to heart. His 2 younger brothers also laughed at him, mocking that after all these years in the city, he was still dirt poor. Their mother came over affectionately, pulled the 2 brothers into the house to chat, but told the rich man to go sort the gifts brought by the villagers. The rich man said he hadn't seen his mother in years and wanted to talk with her, and that he'd help sort gifts with his brothers afterward. But the mother said one of his brothers was a small business owner, the other a senior executive. He had no right to ask them to do chores. The eldest uncle, seeing the rich man being wronged, brought over a box of ginseng and told him that since his mother cared so much about appearances, giving her this would make her happy. Unexpectedly, one of the brothers saw this. He snatched the ginseng away and publicly announced that the rich man was so poor he couldn't afford a gift, and tried to pass off his uncle's gift as his own. The mother also came over to scold the rich man, saying all he ever did was embarrass the family. The rich man was heartbroken, saying he didn't expect his mother to see him that way. He said he had never brought shame to the family, and that the gift he brought this time was premium-grade ginseng. He picked up the plastic bag containing the ginseng, opened it, and took out a small root of ginseng. The relatives burst into laughter, saying it looked like some wild weed he picked up off the roadside. The mother slapped him across the face, saying he tried to fool her by pretending wild weeds were ginseng. The rich man told his mother that although this ginseng looked ordinary, it was extremely valuable. It was developed by his 3rd daughter herself. He added that his 3 daughters would also be coming to celebrate their grandmother's birthday, and would introduce this newly cultivated ginseng to everyone then. Upon hearing the word granddaughters, his mother got even angrier, saying those 3 girls must be just as useless as their father. At that moment, a relative said he had heard that a newly developed type of ginseng had recently come out, and it looked just like that one. The youngest brother said their company had a special machine that could test the quality and value of ginseng. He told someone to bring the device over, saying a quick scan would reveal the truth. Soon, the machine was delivered. First, they tested the ginseng brought by the youngest brother. The machine showed it was worth $100,000. Next, they tested the ginseng brought by the older brother. It was valued at $500,000. Finally, it was time to test the rich man's ginseng, but the machine couldn't produce any results. The rich man suddenly realized this ginseng was a newly developed variety, and the device couldn't recognize it. The richest man called his daughter, hoping she could explain the ginseng to the elders, but his brother snatched the phone from him and threw it to the ground, accusing him of breaking the testing machine and demanding that he kneel and apologize. At that moment, a relative found a news article online about a newly discovered red blood ginseng. There were only 5 in the entire world, each worth millions of dollars. The photo online looked exactly like the ginseng the richest man had brought back. When the mother saw how valuable the ginseng was, her attitude changed instantly. She asked why her son had done so well out in the world but never told her, then grabbed the ginseng and examined it closely. But the brother said, "Just because it looks the same doesn't mean it's real. Big Brother's always been poor. How could he afford something that expensive? Only someone truly wealthy could even dream of owning that kind of ginseng." Just then, several staff members entered, each holding a luxurious gift. The richest man told his mother he hadn't lied to her. These expensive gifts were all sent by his 3 daughters. One relative said, "That solid gold peach alone must be worth at least $50 million. Another added, "That ship model is worth a full billion." A third pointed at the final gift, an experimental injection, and said, "This shot can make someone 10 years younger. Most people couldn't even buy it if they wanted to." At that moment, the children of his 2 younger brothers returned. The youngest brother's son saw the golden peach and claimed it was a gift from his business partner. The youngest brother immediately accused the richest man of stealing the spotlight from his son, saying he dared to claim his daughter sent the gift that clearly came from his son. The richest man looked at his nephew and said, "You should be responsible for what you say." But the nephew insisted, "That golden peach came from my client. It's mine." Then the youngest brother's daughter looked at the model ship and said, "This was a startup gift from the film crew. I work as an agent for a famous director who's filming a deep-sea adventure." The richest man remembered his second daughter had told him she was investing in a film, a deep-sea adventure story. Then the eldest brother said, "The third gift came from my son's professor." His son added, "I just got hired at the Academy of Sciences. That shot was developed by my professor." The richest man then recalled his third daughter recently told him she had become the new president of the Academy of Sciences. Looking at the youngest brother's son, he asked, "How big is this project you're working on with your client?" The nephew replied, "It's a $20 million deal." The richest man said, "A mere 20 million, yet your partner gave you a gift worth 100 million? That doesn't add up at all." The nephew defended himself, saying the client gave it out of personal affection. The richest man then asked his niece, "Can that director really afford such a ship? If so, he'd keep it for himself. Why would he give it to you?" When she couldn't respond, the youngest brother stepped forward and slapped the richest man in the face, accusing him of insulting his children. The eldest brother's son quickly spoke up, saying he had just started his new job, and if his employer found out he had such a disrespectful uncle, he might lose his position. Hearing that her grandson's job might be at risk, the mother blamed the richest man for ruining her grandson's future and declared she was cutting off their mother-son relationship. The richest man looked at his mother, heartbroken, and said, "All those years ago I dropped out of school on my own and worked hard to support you and my two brothers. And now this is what I get in return." At that moment, a fleet of luxury cars pulled up outside. His three daughters entered side by side.